my kitchen again, and today we're gonna make German Spaetzle with sage brown butter and Parmesan. It is an amazing dish, one of the easiest pastas ever to make, and I'm gonna show you how to do it. And one of my favorite eggs I like to use for Spaetzle are Country Golden Yolks. Country Golden Yolks are free-range eggs since 1989, and they're locally owned and family-run in the beautiful Fraser Valley. So we're gonna start off the Spaetzle batter with 3 large Country Golden Yolks eggs, and we'll put them in a mixing bowl. Oh, look at that beautiful yolk. Then we're gonna beat these up. And to that, we're gonna add 1½ cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon salt, 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and then some milk. The recipe says anywhere from 6 to 10 tablespoons, but it all depends on how packed your flour measurement was. What we're looking for is an exact batter consistency, which I'm gonna show you today. But what I want you to do is start off with 6 tablespoons of milk, and then we'll add more as needed. We're gonna get in there with that whisk. The other variants in this batter are the large eggs. Even though all 3 of those eggs are large size, in the grating process, the eggs could be on the smaller end of the large size variants, or they could be on the larger end of the large size variants. So that will play a part as well. But obviously this is too thick, so we need to add a little bit more milk. So we're just gonna add a little bit at a time until the batter is just right. And you want this batter to look gluey. You want it to be able to slowly run from the whisk when you pick it up, and that's a bit too slow. So we'll add just a touch more milk. Only add a little bit at a time, because you can always add more. You can't take it out. And give it a thorough mix. Look at that. That's what we're looking for, okay? Nice and gluey, runs really slow from the whisk. This is a lot thicker than a pancake batter. Okay, we have a pot of boiling water. I'm gonna show you 2 different ways how to make Spaetzle. One, we'll be using a Spaetzle maker. This is where you put the batter in, you go back and forth. I'll demonstrate that. But in case you don't have one of these, and you don't know if you want to invest in one of these, because you don't know how many times you're gonna make Spaetzle, then I'll show you a different way. So we're gonna use a cheese grater first. Just a standard size whole flat cheese grater like this. It's a little bit more tricky, you'll see that, but it can be done. So I'm gonna put 1 oven mitt on because I'm gonna be holding it over the pot. So the whole idea is having this batter gluey so we can put it in there and then move it back and forth over the holes, and you'll see it drip into the boiling water. And that's how we're gonna make our pasta. So we're gonna take some of that gluey Spaetzle batter, and you might find it drip out as you're filling it, but that's okay. Just keep it over the bowl. And then we're going to take this and over the pot of water, go back and forth. See it dripping there? Keep going back and forth. Careful when you're using a cheese grater not to spill it over the edge of the cheese grater. And you just keep doing this back and forth. And you'll see the little Spaetzles being made into the boiling water. Because they're very small, it takes very little time for them to cook, about a minute. You're just waiting for all of them to float and then rescue them from the pot. I'm using a slotted spoon. We want to make sure we drain them really well. But they're a little bit too small to use a colander for. You could use a very fine colander, but again, we need this boiling water in here to do the rest of the batter. We're doing this just a little batch at a time. Now, to keep these Spaetzle from sticking to each other when they're sitting there waiting for us to finish them, we're just going to toss them with a little bit of melted butter, just a couple tablespoons. Now, let me show you the Spaetzle maker. So this will actually hook on the edge of your pot, and the whole idea is to fill this basket and then move the basket back and forth to make the Spaetzle. I'll move it over this way so you guys can see. And I'm going to take the batter now and fill it as much as I can. This is a lot easier because it can contain a lot more batter than using the cheese grater. You'll see it dripping in there already. And then you just go back and forth over the holes. Look how easy that is. Very fast, very efficient. So if you're thinking of making Spaetzle on a regular basis, I highly recommend buying one of these. And that's it, we're done. And again, it doesn't take long, just about a minute. Once they're all floating, then we're done. And we're gonna add it to the butter and that first batch of Spaetzle. So I'm just gonna stir those together to make sure that all the spaetzle is coated with that butter. What we're gonna do now is create some sage brown butter. This is what's going to transform that spaetzle into something completely amazing. We're gonna start off with a heavy bottom pan, and we're gonna heat it until it's really, really hot. I have cold butter. It's important to cube the butter in advance and keep it in your refrigerator right until the time of making this butter. I also have standing by 3 tablespoons of chopped fresh sage. So how you know when your pan is hot enough, when it's an empty pan, remember this is completely dry, there's nothing in there. I want you to put just a little sprinkle of water in there. And when it bubbles and spurts like that, then it's pretty hot. We want it a little bit hotter than that, where it almost evaporates immediately. And I was mentioning that it's important to make sure the pan is completely dry because I don't want oil in there or butter and you're adding water in a hot pan, you're gonna have a grease fire. So make sure you're not doing that. You're only testing the pan in an empty pan. Okay, we're gonna go for it right there. Nice and hot pan and the butter. And the reason why we need to keep the butter cold and have a really hot pan, we want to create brown butter. And so that butter is going to brown very quickly. As soon as you see it foaming and brown, we're going to take it out and you're done. It's the fastest sauce you can make for pasta. Cold cube butter going in. We're going to add that sage. And you start moving it around. You can't keep it in there too long, otherwise you're gonna have burnt butter. We don't want burnt butter, obviously. We wanna have brown butter. So keep moving it around. This is on high heat, remember? Until all that butter melts. If you were to use room temperature butter, that butter would melt too quickly and it may burn. See that? You can just start to see the foaming now, how it's going brown. I'm just waiting for those last couple of pieces to melt completely. And you just created brown butter, sage brown butter. So we're gonna take that butter off the heat immediately, get it out of the pan, and pour it all over that spaetzle. Then to finish this dish, I'm gonna take that beautiful sage brown butter spaetzle, and we're gonna toss in about 1/3 of a cup of finely grated Parmesan Reggiano, and just toss that in. Oh yeah, it looks amazing. Now remember, we used salted butter for the brown butter, so you may or may not want to add more salt. Taste it and you'll know for sure. But we are going to add some fresh cracked pepper. Every pasta will benefit from fresh cracked pepper. Stir that in. Let's portion this out now. The texture of fresh spaetzle is just amazing. You're really gonna love this dish. And I'm just gonna take a little fresh parsley, just to give a little burst of green on the top. So beautiful. I know you're gonna love this dish. My recipes demand great ingredients like the greatness and country golden yolks, free range and organic eggs. Make sure you're checking out the website at countrygoldenyolks.com, and this is Chef Des signing out. Where are you getting your protein from?